Guten Erev Shabbos. There's a story told of two individuals, we'll call them Ruvain and Shimon. Shimon was successful with everything in his life. Whatever he touched turned to gold, while Ruvain continuously failed. And Ruvain became extremely jealous of Shimon. He was totally obsessed with this jealousy. So the king summoned Ruvain into his palace, and he says to Ruvain, Ruvain, I'll give you whatever you'd like, but whatever I give you, I'll give double to Shimon. What would you like to receive? To which Ruvain says, I'd like you to poke out one of my eyes. You see, jealousy is a terrible character flaw. The inability to celebrate someone else's successes can literally hurt ourselves in a terrible way. Which brings us to Parshas Korach. Korach is jealous of Moshe. Korach is jealous of Aaron. Of course, he attempts to conceal his jealousy by presenting halachic inquiries to Moshe Rabbeinu. Does a room that's filled with svarim need a mezuzah? Or does a garment that's all blue need to have that one psil techeles, that one string of blue? His intention with these questions was to ask Moshe Rabbeinu, why do we need leaders? We're all good. Why do you stand apart and above everybody else? But what is the answer to Korach's claim or his question? Why do we need leaders? Why do we need a tzaddik in our lives? So this coming Sunday is Gimmel Tammuz, 31 years since Gimmel Tammuz. And Rabbi Dr. Jonathan Sachs related once that he was studying in Cambridge, and he came to meet various Torah giants, and he came to meet with the Rebbe, and he presented the Rebbe with various questions that he had. He was confused about some of the things he had learned and studied. And he presents his questions to the Rebbe. He says, and all of a sudden the Rebbe changes the entire conversation and says to him, how many Jewish students are there in Cambridge? And what are you doing to help educate those Jewish students? And as the Rebbe spoke, all of a sudden that room was transformed. He was at the center of discussion. His life's mission and his purpose in this world was being discussed and being challenged by the Rebbe. The Rebbe was, he said, was not just a charismatic leader or a humble leader, but the Rebbe was actually a conduit for godliness. The Rebbe was broadcasting at a higher frequency, totally void, not distorted by ego or noise or a narrow perspective, but merely sharing and communicating the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the will of God, for this student that was sitting in his office at this given moment. That is what a Rebbe is. The Rebbe reveals to us the will of Hashem and our purpose in life. I recently heard a story from my dear brother-in-law, Rabbi Moshe Rappaport. It's well known that they're one of the most valuable svarim in the Rebbe's library was the Baal Shem Tov Siddur. And the Rebbe had said that in the Baal Shem Tov Siddur, there was one word that was changed. In benching, in grace after meals, we say, no al tatzrichenu, I shouldn't have to be dependent on mortal man, ki im liyadcha hamleya hapsucha gdoisha, but rather I want to rely on God's open and full and holy hand. So there was a word, the Rebbe had said that in the Baal Shem Tov Siddur, instead of saying HaKadosh, holy hand, it said HaKadosh, the overflowing hand of Hashem. So one time Chassidim were shown the Baal Shem Tov Siddur, and the first thing they went to do is they went to check to see if the word is Hagedosha with a Gimmel instead of HaKadosh. To their dismay, they look at the Siddur and it says HaKadosh, not as they had heard from the Rebbe. So they immediately wrote to the Rebbe, what's going on here? We looked in the Siddur. The Rebbe responded as follows. He says, what you see in the Siddur, I'm not sure. But what the Frierdiker Rebbe told me, that I am sure. And he told me it says there Haggadah. They went back to the Siddur and they found that at the end of the Siddur there was the Haggadah Shel Pesach, and in there was benching again. And there they found the word Haggadah. But I think the message here is that if we want to tap in to that higher frequency, we have to remove some of the static in our own lives in order to be able to be recipients for that holiness, for that messaging, for that indicating to us what our purpose is. This Gimmel Tammuz is a good time to focus on that. Have a wonderful and elevated Shabbos.